typical American wedding goes. Boyfriend asks girlfriend's father for permission to marry. Boyfriend becomes fiancé to girlfriend. Woman plans wedding. Bride and groom become husband and wife. And after the ceremony, the husband and wife go to a reception to drink, dance, eat, and celebrate a new marriage with family and friends. Russian weddings are just a little bit different from American weddings. Today we will be talking about Russian weddings and they had before and after the wedding. When the groom arrives at the bride's house, he must pay a ransom for the bride. This is called, sorry if my Russian isn't that great, but the Vinka Nevesty. Long ago, the ransom was very difficult. The bride's family would try and stop the groom from reaching the bride by putting obstacles or tests in his way. Some tests might see how intelligent or how strong the groom may be, or the family's tests may test him on other various things. If the groom failed the challenge or challenges, then he would have to pay the family in coins or lobbies. In modern times, Vinka Nevesty is no longer a test on strength or intelligence or any other thing. It is now a funny challenge for the groom. The groom composes a poem for the bride, or he may write her name in rose petals. Some still carry on the tradition of trying to challenge the groom, and others go with more modern times and do something that's more lighthearted, funny, and romantic. The traditional ceremony is an option for the bride and the groom. This is called the Venetian. The ceremony is split into two different parts, the betrothal and the crowning. The service usually takes place in the morning after the divine liturgy, which the wedding rings are blessed and placed on the holy table. The betrothal happens at the beginning of the engagement and is now commonly done ceremony as the wedding itself. The betrothal is when the bride and groom stand at the entrance of the church and the priest blesses them and then gives them a lighted candle which they hold during the entire ceremony. The deacon then leads the litany, and with petitions for the bride and groom, they continue the service. After the priest says two brief prayers for the couple, and the rings are blessed and placed on the couple's right hand, they have completed the betrothal. The sign of marriage is not the exchange of rings, which happens at the betrothal, but is the placing of the crowns on the heads of the bride and the groom. The bride and the groom are led by the priest to the center of the church, where they stand on a rose-colored fabric. The rose-colored fabric symbolizes their entrance into a new life. The bride and groom must publicly profess that they are married of their own free will and that they have not promised themselves to another. After the litany, the priest places the crowns on both the bride and the groom, and the priest then reads reading from the Apostle and the Gospel. The bride and the groom are then led around an analogy, which their Gospel book has in place. The procession symbolizes the beginning of their new wedded life together. After the crowning, the bride and the groom and a small group from the ceremony will go into the civil ceremony. The civil ceremony takes place at the Department of Public Services. The ceremony ranges from 15 to 30 minutes, and during this time the rings are exchanged and the group is pronounced as their wife, officially. The newlyweds and their witnesses travel around the city and view many historical sites. A majority of the wedding photographs are taken at varying historical places. It is also known as a prologue. Usually by the end of the many tours that they are given, the guests are already singing and dancing and ready for the reception that follows. As you can tell, a Russian wedding is very different from Americans. Russians go through the paying of the ransom, the traditional ceremony, and the touring of the city.